How you doing? My name's Andrew Setters. I'm a reporter for WLWT News 5 here in Cincinnati. I get up way early in the morning and I do news in the morning, and you may see me there. I am really excited about our guest that we have today. Like I said, it's been 30 years since Back to the Future 1, and we have some wonderful guests here. We have James Tolkan, Claudia Wells, and Harry Waters Jr., who are going to be joining us. Give it up. All right, we've got a microphone and a chair for each of you here. Just grab a seat.
Can I be in the middle?
There you go.
Hey, slackers out there. Slackers of the world unite.
There you go.
Oh, I'm a slacker.
So I was just telling them, I can't believe it's been 30 years since Back to the Future. Does it seem like it's just gone by like that?
I would answer. Oh, did I sound it? I don't
Yeah,
really
yeah, there you
sound.
go.
Hi, everybody. How you doing? Good. 30 years? No, because we don't think about it. All of a sudden, you just show up and it's like, oh, it's another day. But all those days put together, I guess, got us here 30 years later, and we're still being able to do this. So it's all a result of you all. I mean, the fact that you all and your families and grandchildren and great-grandchildren are still fans of this film. That 30 years seems like nothing.
He's good, huh? That was a great answer. Well, I'm profoundly grateful to all the fans for giving us the opportunity we get to travel and to meet everybody, and it's such an honor that everybody's nice to me. I mean, who doesn't want that, right? So for me, 30 years, I've lived a ton of life. I have a men's clothing store called Armani Wells that will be 24 years old on December 19th. And thank you. It's the greatest men's store in the whole wide world. It's high-end designer resale for men. And I've got a kid who's 20. So I've been pretty busy and acting still every now and again. So on the one hand, it feels like forever ago, and on the other hand, it feels like it was this morning, because I remember it like it was yesterday.
Now, James, looking back at your resume, you had quite a run there. You had Back to the Future, Top Gun, all. I mean, that period of the '80s was very good to you. What was it like to be in Back to the Future?
What was it like to be
Yeah.
Back to the Future? Well, it was a good job because I'm a New York actor and I was working in New York. I was doing a play on Broadway called Glengarry Glen Ross, and I got this call from Robert Zemeckis to do Back to the Future, and I never heard of Robert Zemeckis, and I always said I'm never going to Hollywood till they send for me. So this was my chance to go to Hollywood and be sent there so I said, okay, I'll do this little show and we'll find out what's going on. And of course, nobody knew at that time it was going to be the big success that it became. It was a very small little project, but it became what it is and it still is today. Thanks to everybody.
Fantastic. Now, Claudia, I was looking back at some of the history of Back to the Future, and there was some stuff that I didn't know up until just a few years ago. Like, I didn't realize that they had shot quite a bit of it with Eric Stoltz in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then actually changed to, I don't know if did you guys know that? And originally, it was not Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly. They actually shot for, I think, about 5 weeks with Eric Stoltz in that role, and it just, from what I was reading, it just wasn't clicking. But I know that kind of worked out to your favor, wasn't it? I mean, because when you didn't film with Eric Stoltz, did you?
I did not. Nobody did. No, okay, so I didn't mean that like nobody did. I meant like no Jennifer did.
Okay.
Let me clarify that. It's our third day. I'm sleepy. Okay, so I got the part. I had one audition that was about 2.5 hours with Steven Spielberg and Bob Zemeckis and Bob Gale, Neil Canton, just everybody. And I had almost gotten the starring role in Gremlins. It was down to me and 2 other girls or 1 other girl. I almost got the starring role in Young Sherlock Holmes. It was down to me and 1 or 2 other girls. And I almost got the starring role in Gremlins. It was down to me and 1 or 2 other girls, literally. So when I walked in for Back to the Future, I just was like, same people.
One of them had to go your way, right?
No, I was just thinking they keep not casting me. So I walked in and I was like, hey again, it's me. got the part, blessedly, and then found out, I think a month later, that the pilot I had shot with Ed Asner and Eileen Brennan the previous spring got picked up to be a mid-season replacement TV series. ABC would not allow me to be shared with Amblin, and even Ed Asner, who was starring on the show, said, "Come on, let the kid go do a movie," and they didn't. So I had to back out of Back to the Future. They recast my role with actually a girl who was a friendly competitor of mine. We used to almost always get down, and I'd get one job, she'd get the next, and back and forth. It was always like that. So I did my series. They shot with Eric. They didn't do any of my scenes with Eric. And then they let him go like at midnight after 8 weeks. Oh, I have a funny story. You should ask me about that.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll file that away.
Okay, so
Ask about the funny story.
don't forget. So she got let go. I got rehired, and I got to do the movie.
That really is amazing because it just worked out that way. It's
I
fantastic.
felt like it might, because when I was sitting in my living room and my mom came in and said, "Okay, you're released from Back to the Future," I didn't cry, or I was like okay with it. So I'm thinking maybe it was fate.
Fantastic.
Want to hear the funny story?
You know, I heard somewhere that you might have a funny story that you'd like to share with us.
Okay, I just heard this about 2 weeks ago from Bob Gale. When they let go of Marty, I was just going to say, don't tell anyone, and I see all these cameras. So when they let go of Marty and they went and told Christopher Lloyd that they had to let go of Eric Stoltz, he said, "Who's Eric Stoltz?" And they said, "He's Marty." And he goes, "Marty? I thought that actor's name was Marty, playing Marty." That's his funny story.
That's funny. Now, I know one of the big things was shooting Back to the Future 1 and then turning around and coming up with a sequel and then kind of going back in time to the same period of time. You guys had to act in some of the same kind of context all over again a couple years later. What was that like? What was that like for you, Harry, to kind of go back to the past and back to the future?
Yeah, the past,
exactly.
the past and back again.
Gets confusing.
Well, it was 2 different years. Obviously, it was 1985 and then 1989. And I'd been living as an actor and working in Los Angeles and doing, as I would call it, journeyman actor work. It means that you get cast in everybody's guest star or featured role, and you keep working, and then they decide to do Back to the Future 2. And I had to make a decision. Once again, I had a very similar situation to Claudia, where I was down to the finals for another TV series.
Which one?
I'm not going to tell you because it did not get picked up, so that's okay. And my agent said, "No, go for the TV series." And I went, "Wait a minute, no, Spielberg movie, yes." So when they called for Back to the Future 2, it was a different time, and I had been not. How would you say it? When I was doing 1, I was a little younger, and then it was 5 years later, so I wasn't quite as in good shape. So I had to get a lot of exercise in so that I could fit back in. It wasn't the exact same costume, but I wanted to be able to look as good. So it was an opportunity for me to like, oh, this is what those actors do when they're trying to get in shape for a role. And I managed to be there, and nobody knew the difference. So that was the key thing for me.
That's the
Aren't
trick.
you guys shocked, though? He looks exactly the same as he did in the movie? Seriously. Really? I mean, how is that even possible?
I always say the key to those things, and those of us that are in my age range, you know, those that are in those other older baby boom generations, it's like love what you're doing. And also love the people that you're doing it with. Because if you don't, go do something else. Because there'll be some other people, and there'll be some more people that will love you, and then you get to do it. I love teaching now because I teach at McAllister College, and I absolutely love, love, love college students because they think they know everything, and you know, they don't know diddly.
Now, James, what was it like to work with Michael J. Fox at that time? You know, for a lot of people who maybe are a little bit younger, you don't realize like he was on a very popular TV show at the time, and he's gone on and had a wonderful career since then. But at that moment, he was still a very young actor and fairly inexperienced. What was it like to work with Michael J. Fox?
Well, he was this real easygoing guy who walked on the set like he was nobody, and he was very, very easy to work with, and it was a pleasure. And of course, he has the qualities to become the star that he became. Yeah, and I was offered Back to the Future when in New York. I never met anybody. They just offered me the part. Zemeckis had seen me in a movie called Prince of the City. And when we did part 2, very much like Michael J. Fox he was doing TV during the day or at night, and then he was doing Back to the Future as well. I was doing Back to the Future part 2 during the day. No, at night, and I was doing Dick Tracy during the day. Wow, and they would just pick me up at the end of the day and drive me over, and it was something I always wanted to do, and I lived through it.
When did you sleep?
In the vehicle, on the way to the set.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just read recently a story about Michael J. Fox doing that because I didn't realize that he was doing the same kind of a thing where he was shooting the TV show during the day and then filming at night.
Exactly, yes.
Now, Claudia, we know that you were in Back to the Future 1, and then your role was recast in 2 and 3. Do you want to tell people the story of kind of that process? Because I know you kind of had to step away from it, right?
Yeah. So who noticed that it was a different Jennifer? Because some people didn't notice.
And you weren't the only one that was different, too, because...
Crispin Glover.
Yeah, Crispin Glover
Who,
did not
by the
come
way,
back.
I went to high school with. We were in the drama department together.
Oh, I bet you have some... I have a feeling Crispin Glover as a high school student was maybe a little unusual.
Actually, you know what? He was exactly like... what was his name?
George McFly?
George McFly in high school. I mean, literally, exactly. And he's a nice guy, and he's a great guy, and he's a talented guy. Okay, so I did the first movie, and I was supposed to do 2 and 3. And apparently the part was really big. It was supposed to be like Marty and I going through whatever happened. And my mom got diagnosed with 4th stage lymphoma. So it was really hard, and it was too hard, too much going on, and I backed out. And they recast me. And I screen tested for Adventures of Babysitting that Elizabeth Shue starred in. It was down to me and Phoebe Cates and Elizabeth Shue. And I screen tested for Teen Wolf, too. There's not a hit movie in the 80s I didn't screen test for, I swear.
Now, I know you were telling us, Harry, about a lot of other things that you've done. Do you have, to be on stage and perform like that as part of a musical group? Was that all acting, or is that part of your skill set, the musicianship?
Well, I have to say the interesting thing that I had for the audition, once again, for this movie was I was doing a musical at the time called The Me Nobody Knows, which was a musical about inner city kids. And we just happened to be in rehearsals, and I got this call to come audition. So I had to come. I sang a song. I think it was Feeling Good. Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Anyway, from The Roar of the Grease Paint, Smell the Crowd. So I get there, the audition, sing. There's like 8 of us. They call 2 people back. Zemeckis is there. It's me and Zemeckis, this other guy whose name I can't remember.
Neil Canton? Frank Marshall?
No. At the audition. No, the audition was just me and Zemeckis. We talked for 20 minutes. We didn't even sing. Didn't even read the script. It was just talking about theater. So in the meantime, when we finally get to do the movie, Alan Silvestri asked me if I would sing the track for rehearsals, for the shooting, which was very nice. I went, okay, sure, I'll do this. I figured they're going to ask, somebody, from the Four Tops or somebody to sing the song. And he comes to me and said, well, would you be interested in going into the studio? Yeah, sure. You're just joking with me, right? I said, no, come to the studio. So later on, after the movie's being shot, and by the way, I never got to see any of the other film except the Enchantment Under the Sea dance. So I had no idea what was going on in this movie. So I go to the studio. We do several takes. I think we did 14 takes. Earth angel, will you be mine, my darling dear? love you for all time. I'm just a fool in love with you.
How great is he?
And then I went to the screening, and it's like, who the hell is that? Oh my God. Because all this orchestration was underneath it. It was an amazing opportunity. Plus, it got to go on the album that Huey Lewis's Power of Love was on, and the album went gold. So the dream of my friends who were singers, I have friends who are Broadway singers who are looking for that break, and then I got a gold record for singing Earth Angel, a Penguin song in 1955. I'm sorry, Penguin. I did nothing personal. Oh my God, I'm at Comic Expo. I got to be careful. So it was an opportunity that was totally unexpected. It's like there are, talk about blessings just falling unexpectedly. That was one that I still get to carry to this day. My students also finally understand that I do this for a living. I'm not making it up. So singing, acting, and dancing are such an important part of any of your craft. And I say, if any of you out there are interested, at whatever age, believe me, I work with women who are 70 years old in their walkers as actors, that there is something about believing in something other than yourself, but also knowing that there's probably a story that you can tell, that you can probably tell better than anybody else. And the voice that you have, all you're trying to do is find the skills in order to tell it the best way you can. I should be quiet.
No, keep going.
Now,
He got to sing, but it's a little known fact that Principal Strickland had a musical number in the movie too, but it was cut. And you want to hear a little bit of it?
Yes. Yes.
I work all night on a sip of rum, see the slackers and I want to go home.
Now, James, what was it like to go back? We were just talking about it with Harry. What was it like to go back and revisit the same role a couple of years later? That's not something that an actor necessarily gets to do.
Back to the Future. But it wasn't. It seems like it wasn't a couple of years later, was it? It was less than that.
It was 89.
Really? Oh, I did. It felt to me like it was almost in sequence. It was very easy. They made it very easy. Bob Gale, they say, "You want to do it? Yeah, let's do it." And then they just write this wonderful stuff, and you show up on the set and you say, "Hey, eat lead, slackers!" Da 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 da. What fun is that?
This is the most fun interview I've ever done. I'm loving this.
I will
You
say
guys are awesome.
one thing about going from 1 to 2 is, and I always like to tell this story to some people, is by the time they got to the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, it was all new filming. Because they had reshot everything from Eric Stoltz, and they had to reshoot it with Michael J. Fox. When they got to the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, it was all new. So the crew was excited. The producers were nervous. We had a live band on stage, so for every break that we had, we were partying in the school gymnasium. Actually, it was the church gymnasium, so we had to be mindful about where we were. Even though we did play The Freaks Come Out at Night, but it was 1985, so that's what we could do. And the opportunities that we had to just be there gave us that feeling that this was a very special event. And it wasn't that we knew it was going to be 30 years later, but the fun that we were having was absolutely ridiculous. I was able to get groups of young girls in their little fancy 1950s skirts. I said, I need 7 girls to dance there so that I can focus on them. They go, yes, okay, screaming. It's amazing what you can do when you're on stage. But being on stage with a live band also allowed you to play a lot more. So when we finally did the last shot of the day, which was the infamous phone call, he did it. It was like everybody was tired, shot all day. We're going to set up in the corner of the stage. All right, hold the phone, get the hand ready. Chuck, this is your cousin Marvin Berry. You know this, how you're looking forward. Listen to this. Cut, print, end of day. 1 take.
Wow. Want to hear a story?
yes.
Want to hear why? Do you know why? Okay, let me get this right.
We could make it up.
No, it's real. When you say, hey, Chuck, it's Marvin Berry, and you're talking to your cousin, Do you know why you didn't say Chuck Berry? Oh. Can I tell? You can tell. Okay. So Bob Gale just told me this a couple days ago. Legally, with the lawyers and all that stuff, they couldn't say what? Why you? No. What did you say? Ah! I know, right? It was actually on Thursday. I'm learning new things all the time from him. I'll tell you another funny story.
Well, that's and I'm other people better be mindful.
You're funny. Legally, they couldn't. They couldn't say Chuck Berry because they would have gotten sued. However, so Bob said it could have been his cousin Chuck Morgan, Chuck Henry. That's why you didn't say his last name.
But also, we were waiting until the last minute to do Johnny Be Good because Chuck hadn't given his permission yet. And they had to pay him a lot of money.
Was there a backup song? Do you know?
No. They were not planning on a backup song. As a matter of fact, we had already rehearsed with Michael J. Fox on doing the guitar work and the slide and everything had to happen. So we were just waiting until they said, yes, go, now we can shoot the song.
Excellent.
Do you know who taught Michael the guitar for the movie? No. Nobody knows? I could charge for this answer. You remember in the band scene that I was in, the blonde guy with the blonde, shaggy haircut who was playing an instrument on stage?
He was in the high school?
When he was in the high school? Right. That's the guy who taught Michael how to play the guitar. Ooh. Want to hear a funny story?
No. Yes.
I want to hear serious.
Okay, so this has to do with what you said about Bob Gale sitting on information. When I got this script, I think, I don't know if it happened with you both, but I was told that they had put a special, something on each page so that if it was ever Xeroxed, a certain number would pop up and they would know who Xeroxed the script because we had to sign a release that we would never tell anyone. I didn't even tell my sister the story. So I'm talking about how careful they were to keep the script quiet like 2-3 years ago. And Bob Gale was doing a Q&A with me and he said, "You actually believed that?" So I totally believed it.
James, did you have a favorite moment from filming or a favorite story that you'd like to share?
From Back to the Future?
Yeah, from Back to the Future.
Oh, I think the favorite moment was me getting the job, actually.
How many times have people yelled slacker at you?
I don't know, but it's often. And I think there are a lot of slackers in the universe.
We want to open it up to the floor for some questions.
From this guy.
Yeah, he's already had his moment. I have to take one of these microphones down here so we can hear him.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
How was it in Top Gun that you said that really cool line about the ego?
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, that's interesting. When we were filming at Top Gun at Miramar, I said, I want to talk to a squadron commander, which is the part I was playing, and I said, when these guys screw up, how do you talk to them? And he said, well, this happened last week. These two guys screwed up, and he said, son, your ego is writing checks your body can't cash. You're going to fly yourself right into a box. So I went to the director, and I said, could I put this in? Yes, and so they let me put that line into the movie, and that was like my contribution above and beyond what was given.
Isn't that a good story?
If anybody has questions, just kind of line up. We'll go through them and one by one.
I have one question for Harry and one question for Claudia. Harry, arguably one of my favorite scenes that you were in the first Back to the Future was when Biff's gang throws Marty in the trunk of the car. Yeah. And they mouth off to one of the bandmates, and then all the doors open and all the smoke plumes out, and you guys all step out. How many times did it take to film that scene? Because I always got the sense you guys kind of broke out into laughter a lot.
It was an all-night scene. Because they couldn't do really bad smoke. I put bad smoke. The kids, you youngsters, is bad smoke in the car. So they had to keep pumping this stuff in there so that when it would open, it would pop out. So at a certain point, we were hysterical inside the car that the car was shaking at one point. We need a break. We just needed a break. Fortunately, it was one of those nights Michael had to be there, so we got to go hang out in his trailer. So, which was a nice moment for us to relax in. So it did take all night, and we had a lot of fun because I made up the line, "Get back to your mama, boy," when I slapped him upside his head.
Nice.
And my question for Claudia, I'm a gamer. I follow Telltale, and I know you came back for Telltale the game. I particularly liked the little commercial, I suppose you could call it, that they shot with you and AJ Locasio, where he runs into your store, and that made me laugh. I just wanted to ask what it was like coming back to the character and doing the video game between 25 and 30 years later.
Can I ask you a question also?
Sure.
Did you like the game? Because I've never seen it. I couldn't figure out how to download it.
The problem with Telltale games is a lot of people give them flack for being too easy, but I enjoyed it, and I did like your, I suppose we'll call her Punk Jennifer. For anyone who hasn't played the game, Jennifer's a little different. And
yeah, right?
That's all I'm going to say about that. Go play the game.
But you liked
But
it.
I did enjoy it.